Now, as you all know much about sound, we are now going to discuss 3 very important characteristics of sound. Out of that, one is loudness, other is pitch, third we have is quality. So we are going to discuss all these 3. So first of all, we will start with the first characteristic, that is the loudness. What is loudness now? As you all know that sometimes when somebody speaks with you, so sometimes sound appears to be loud, you can hear actually in a high volume, and sometimes you hear very slow and you ask your friend that just repeat it again, that what you are saying, because I am unable to hear. So in that case the sound is not having a high volume, it is actually of low volume. So that is what is the loudness. So loudness is degree of sensation of sound, degree of sensation of sound. And on what factor it depends actually? It depends upon amplitude. As we have already discussed the amplitude, you all know that like if the wave is like this, amplitude is the maximum displacement travelled in upward or downward direction. So loudness depends upon amplitude. Higher is the amplitude, louder is the sound, This is the main factor on which loudness depends. Otherwise, it also depends upon the distance between source of sound and receiver. Distance between source of sound and receiver. Suppose if somebody is standing just near to you and say something, that sound appears to be appropriately loud. But if somebody is very far from you and he speaks that, so that sound doesn't appear to be that much loud. It is actually slow. So this is what is the like how it depends upon the distance between source and receiver. If source and receiver are closer to each other, the sound will appear louder, and if source and receiver are far from each other, the sound is not going to appear louder, it will actually be faint. So this is what is the factor. Moreover, it depends upon many other factors like the surface area, it depends upon you can say the weather conditions around you. So, but the main 2 factors which it depends upon is the amplitude and the distance between source and receiver. If we'll plot a graph, like if I want to plot a graph in order to show you the graph for the louder sound and graph for the fainter sound. So see, this is, suppose I have one graph like this and one graph like this. So here you can easily make out that here the amplitude is this much, or we can say this much, and here the amplitude is this much, that means more. So that means this sound will be loud and this sound is going to be faint. Not that much loud because it has lower amplitude. And in what units do we measure loudness? We measure loudness in decibel. Decibel is denoted by small d and capital B, and you know that the telephone was discovered by Alexander Bell. So loudness, the unit for the loudness is also bell also, and you know that 1 bell is actually equal, or you can say that 1 decibel is equal to 1/10 of bell. Right. So this is what is the loudness, one of the important property of the sound. So we have done with the loudness. Now we are going to start with another property, that is the pitch. Pitch is the property by which we can distinguish between, or we can actually tell that what sound is shrilled and what sound is flat. So actually pitch is a property by which we can distinguish between shrilled and a flat sound. Shrilled means sharp voice and flat means deep voice. So we can actually distinguish between that whether the sound is sharp or deep, or we can say whether the sound is shrilled or flat. So because you can actually notice this kind of pitch. Suppose we have a baby in our home and he is crying, so that sound of crying baby will be somewhat different from the sound of a adult who is crying, because the sound of crying of the baby is obviously going to be shrilled, it is going to be sharp, and the sound of the crying of adult is something deep, that means flat. So there you can actually notice the pitch. So they actually differ in the pitch. Now on what factor the pitch actually depends? Pitch depends upon frequency. Pitch actually depends upon frequency. And what is frequency? As we have already discussed, number of waves produced in 1 second. We know that number of waves, or we can say number of vibrations, one and the same thing, produced per second. So more is the frequency, higher is the pitch. Higher is the pitch means shrilled is the voice. That means sharp is the voice, and vice versa. Lower is the frequency, lower is the pitch, and deep or flat is the sound. So if somebody asks you to plot a graph for a shrilled voice or a flat voice, how we can show it? We can show it. Suppose I have graph like this, and I have one graph like this. So here you can make out that here the frequency is actually less, and here the frequency in per second is more. So that means this is a graph for a shrilled voice, that means a sharp voice, and this is a graph for the deep or a flat sound. So this is how you can distinguish between the second property, that is the pitch. And you know that moreover pitch also depends upon some other factors also. It depends upon tightness, it depends upon mass, and also it depends upon the length of the vibrating body, Like more is the tightness, I'll write here, more is the tightness, shrilled is the voice, that means sharp is the voice. And you know that actually pitch actually decrease with increase in mass and length. Pitch actually decrease, that means the sound becomes flat with increase in mass and length of the vibrating body, or you can say the sound producing or any vibrating body, like we have larynx. So in larynx also we have a vibrating body inside. So if the mass and the length increase, the pitch actually decrease, that means the flatness of sound actually increase. So the third property, pitch is over. So we are going to start with the third property, that is the quality. That we have is the quality. What is quality? Quality is one of the property by which we can distinguish between two different sounds actually, of same loudness and same pitch, or we can say same frequency and same amplitude. Suppose if you can say that if somebody is playing a guitar in one room and somebody is playing harmonium in another room, so you easily come to know that yes, this is a guitar sound and this is a harmonium sound. So that property which help us to distinguish between those two sounds is actually a quality. So in the same way, you can actually distinguish between a horn of the scooter and horn of the truck. You can easily make out that this is a horn for the truck or this is a horn for the scooter. So again, the same property is that which enable us to distinguish is the quality. Another example, suppose there is a dark room inside and one of your friend is inside and he just take your name. So how you distinguish that yes, suppose my friend is Amit. So I say that if Amit is there in a room but there is a darkness, I cannot see Amit inside. So but Amit is taking my name. So how I come to know that yes, in the room Amit is there, because I cannot see that. But still I can make out that in the room there is Amit, because the one who is taking my name is Amit. Again by the same property, that is the quality. Right, so quality enable us to actually distinguish between two different sounds of same loudness and same pitch. Now, what is the reason that we can distinguish? It is due to the pattern of the wave formed by them. Pattern of the wave formed by them. Suppose if I draw a graph for the guitar sound. So let's say, suppose this is a wave. So let's say that guitar sound waveform is like this. This is just an example. And if I ask you for the, suppose I say for a drum sound, I say that suppose it is like this. So that means they are just forming the different wave pattern. Likewise, you can draw. They are just forming the different wave patterns, and due to which we can actually distinguish between the two different sounds of same pitch and same loudness. So this is what is the three important characteristics, that is the loudness, pitch and quality.